Hello and thank you for joining us here on France 24 for Inside the Americas. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. Coming up in this edition, a detailed look at the distant cosmos. We show you the latest pictures sent back to Earth by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. Twitter says it's going to sue Elon Musk for breach of contract after the world's richest man pulled out of buying the platform. And protesters continue venting their anger at the soaring cost of living in Panama. That's despite some concessions already made by the government. So this is our picture of the week, one of the very first images to be beamed back to planet Earth from the distant cosmos by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. In this picture, we can see a star-forming region in the Carina Nebula. And these high-resolution images are the most detailed ever seen of what is a little-known corner of our universe. Nebulas, galaxy clusters and stars from billions of years ago, all visible in this series of photographs. Well, let's listen to Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen from NASA.
The one, frankly, that moved me to tears the first time I saw it was that deep field image, right? It's looking at the universe in a way we've never seen it, and looking deeper in the universe all the way to within a few 100 million years of the Big Bang. The first galaxies that are formed there, we know some of them are older already now, at first look, than 13.1 billion years. And for me, that's just mind-boggling. To the untrained eye, this is a red speck. But to the trained eye, this is why we built this telescope. So within the next days and weeks, frankly, there's a lot of images that get released, including images of Jupiter, for example, planet in our own solar system. We have images taken from other sources that we're going to put out, other planetary nebula, things that are really exciting to us.
In other news, firefighters have been working around the clock in California to try to contain a raging wildfire at Yosemite National Park. Well, the blaze is threatening a grove of hundreds of majestic trees that are thought to be thousands of years old. France 24's Monty Francis has that story.
At 64 meters tall and some 3,000 years old, the grizzly giant is among the oldest and largest trees in the world. As a wildfire inches closer and closer to the giant sequoia, the sprinklers are in place.
It's close to the sequoia trees. We have a fire line around the entire Mariposa Grove. It's close. A little bit of the fire is on ground fire has gotten into the grove.
What's been dubbed the Washington Fire has burned several square kilometers inside Yosemite National Park. And the grizzly giant is just one of more than 500 mature sequoias under threat in what's known as the Mariposa Grove. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling the blaze since it began on July 7th.
Over the Washburn incident.
They've been using infrared drone footage to monitor just how close the fire is coming to the famous trees.
All spot fires have been secured, the biggest being a half acre. We're going to be in there reinforcing those, flying infrared drones today, checking for additional, and that's a top priority today to hold fire east of Highway 41.
The giant trees have their own protection, with high branches and thick bark, and experts say moderate fire can even help them reproduce by burning cones and releasing seeds into the soil. But as the fire rages out of control, concern remains for both the trees and people who live in the fire's path. The small town of Wawona inside the park has been evacuated, and the south part of Yosemite has been closed to visitors, while the rest of the park remains open.
We're going to take you now to Texas, where surveillance footage has been released showing the very moment that the gunman entered a school in Uvalde on the 24th of May, armed with an automatic weapon. Well, he went on to kill 19 children and 2 teachers, making this America's deadliest school shooting in nearly 2 decades. But the release of that video has sparked fresh anger, not least because it serves as a reminder of the 80 minutes that it took before the police intervened. Twitter has announced that it plans to sue Elon Musk for breach of contract after the billionaire backed out of a deal to buy the platform for $44 billion. Well, last week, Musk pulled out, accusing Twitter of misleading statements about the number of fake accounts. Well, this sets the stage for a potentially lengthy court battle with Twitter, which initially opposed the prospect of being bought by Musk, who is the world's richest person. France 24's Leo McGinn has more.
Elon Musk versus Twitter, a battle which will soon move from online to the courtroom. The company's chairman, Bret Taylor, tweeted to confirm that Twitter are taking Elon Musk to court.
Twitter has filed a lawsuit in the Delaware Court of Chancery to hold Elon Musk accountable to his contractual obligations.
Musk's response, short and sweet.
Oh, the irony.
In April, Musk announced that he was acquiring the company after its board of directors accepted his $44 billion offer. But the deal did not take long to crumble. As early as May, Musk's commitment to the agreement had started to waver. The main issue? Spam accounts on the social media site. Twitter said that they made up less than 5% of users, whereas Musk, without evidence, claimed that it was more like 20%.
The bot issue has always been an issue for Twitter. I mean, really, I'd say over the last 4 or 5 years, 5% versus 20%. I mean, that will be obviously the debate. I do think, look, Musk knew about the spam. Everyone's known about the bot issue to begin with.
It all came to a head last week when Musk announced that he was terminating the deal, citing a lack of information about spam accounts. In response, Twitter have announced that they will sue Musk.
In terms of who has the edge, I think consensus view is that ultimately it's probably Twitter that has the edge legally going into the Delaware courts. But that's something that is going to have to play out.
Court filings have been made by Twitter, and the case will go to a Delaware court in what is already one of the most anticipated court cases in recent history.
Thousands of people took to the streets across Panama this week. They've been venting their anger at the cost of living and also at government corruption. Well, for the past 2 weeks, demonstrations have been taking place across the Central American country. That's despite some concessions already made by the Panamanian president, Laurentino Cortizo, which include a 24% cut in the price of fuel.
A battle against an increasingly expensive life. A battle that the people have decided to fight together. Under the escort of riot police, these hundreds of Panamanians are angry, and for good reason. They can no longer make ends meet. The main reason? The skyrocketing price of fuel. Between January and July, there has been an increase of 47%. People are demanding emergency measures from the powers that be.
The cost of living, that's why people are on the streets. The people are asking for social justice.
A message that the president Laurentino Cortizo says he has heard. After 2 weeks of protests, he addressed the nation in an attempt to restore some form of calm.
I want to announce, I have decided to expand the measure of freezing the cost in fuel to $3.95 per gallon for private vehicles nationwide from July 15th. Likewise, I have summoned a cabinet meeting to pass a decree that will freeze the cost of 10 additional basic staple food products.
Measures that are considered insufficient by the unions. They are asking the head of state to do more.
Mr. President, the people sent you a clear and loud message. The people are organized and in the streets. They do not accept the price of gas. They're waiting for you to correct the proposal that we consider unjust.
Education, transportation, but also health. In Panama, many key sectors have been affected by shortages, whether it's of means, material, or of personnel. Sometimes all three.
The current situation in Panama is unlivable. There are no medical supplies, there are cuts in salaries, there is no work, and there is no money to pay the doctors. As a student, the future worries me a lot.
In addition to the economic aspect, Panamanians are also asking for in-depth changes, starting with a less corrupt society.
Well, that's all we have time for this week's edition of Inside the Americas. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again very soon here on France 24.